Joining me is Rowan Dean, Editor-in-Chief of The Spectator Australia, host of Outsiders every Sunday at 9 a.m, and host of his own show on Fridays at 7 p.m. Rowan, thanks. Oh, great to see you again. Look, it seems that here we have American politicians caring more about censorship by an Australian official than our own government does.
Yes, well, Andrew, I hate to say I told you so, but I did tell you so, and I told all of Sky's viewers so a year ago when this legislation was passed, bringing in the under 16-year-old ban, with disgracefully coalition approval and support, that the only people who could save us from this insanity would be the Americans, and that it would be the Trump administration who would ride to our rescue. And I've been saying that repeatedly for the last year, because Albanese and Peter Dutton set us on a collision course with Trump's administration over the issue of free speech. They did it knowingly because we'd already had J.D. Vance, we'd already had Marco Rubio tick off, particularly J.D. Vance. He went to Europe and spoke about it, but other members of the Trump administration had done the same thing and made it crystal clear that the Trump administration will not tolerate its allies or its friends or its business partners trampling all over Americans' free speech, the First Amendment. They made it crystal clear. They told the European Union in no uncertain terms. So it was absolutely obvious that we were on a collision course with our under 16 social media ban. It's come sooner than I thought it would come. I thought it would come once the mayhem begins on December 10th, when this country is going to try and enforce people to not have social media accounts under some bizarre rules that even the Australian government doesn't understand and can't explain. And certainly the eSafety Commissioner hasn't got a clue about, she can't explain it in Senate estimates, what's actually going to happen. So we're flying into a bizarre world where we're imposing some draconian sort of censorship laws, which will either go one of two ways, Andrew. Either they will be ineffectual and the kids will just work their way around it with VPNs or VM, whatever they're called, the kids will figure it out. Or they'll be so severe and so strict and so draconian that you, me, and every other internet user will be going, what on earth is happening here? And they'll be forced to back down. So the reality is the Americans are coming to our rescue because Julie Inman-Grant cannot be trusted on free speech. She's made it crystal clear. She stood up at the World Economic Forum and said that rules around free speech would have to change now because of social media. When quizzed about Australia and free speech in Australia, she said, well, Australia doesn't have what America has, the First Amendment, so that's hunky-dory, let's off we go.
Our value, like it was a bad
free speech. Sorry, Andrew?
A good thing, rather.
Yeah.
She said it like it was a good thing that we didn't have free speech laws. I mean, oh, for goodness sake, Rowan, it's depressing. The nanny state. I mean, what happened to the rugged Australia? You know, she'll be right and all that kind of stuff. I don't get it. But Rowan, here's another thing I don't get. Why it is that so few reporters call out the government's net zero plans as a disaster. Oh, the Liberals have got a dog's breakfast of a policy. They don't see that the Labor policy is causing a dog's breakfast in the real world. Now, on Monday, I read headlines like this about a news report by gas and electricity suppliers, energy giants, back net zero as coalition reignites climate war. And that's as if, you know, net zero is the cheapest way to go, just like the Albanese government claims. But the energy bosses quoted inside this report, Rowan, I'm pretty sure you had a look at it too, in a report by the Australian Energy Council, gave a very different and alarming picture. For instance, this extraordinary admission, one of so many in this report, about the move to wind and solar. It's one of the biggest things, one of these chief executives says, one of the biggest things Australia's trying to do in such a short space of time. And having no thought through detailed plan on how to achieve it, the cost of doing it, and your backup plan when things don't go your way, as they invariably don't, is probably going to halt the transition at some point in time over the next 3 to 4 years when the populists go, hell no, can't afford it. Rowan, this net zero thing is a disaster, but the message still isn't getting out in the media.
It's not, Andrew, and now I'm going to say you told us so. You've been telling people in your columns and on this show for decades that this thing was a disaster, it was unaffordable, that there's so much about the climate change myth, hoax, I call it, scam, Donald Trump calls it, whatever you want. that does not justify the vast sums of money that must be spent if we are to achieve what the climate zealots say has to be achieved. Right now, at the moment, in Belém in Brazil, they're all sitting around, nearly 500 Australians on the taxpayer dime, discussing saving the planet from climate change. This thing is so embedded in our system. You have Anthony Albanese saying, oh, the independent this and the independent body and that have said, oh, no, it's the cheapest thing to do. We know. All we have to do is look at our electricity bill. All we have to do is look at the price of every single product on the supermarket shelves to know that our energy has gone up and shows no sign of coming down in price. And we haven't even scratched the surface of what the climate zealots say has to be achieved. We're right at the very, very beginning of this so-called process, which involves in the future what we eat, how we travel, where we travel, how often we travel, what we spend our money on, whether we can do this, whether we can do that, whether we can heat our home, etc., our farming, every aspect of transportation, our agriculture. They have already told us and warned us that if we go down this path, we're going to have no meat to eat. We're going to be eating bugs. They've already told us that you won't be traveling more than 15 minutes from your home. They keep telling us, and we refuse to listen, but it is there, the truth, and the truth is that it is simply not affordable, even remotely. We're talking trillions of dollars that the world does not have to meet the fantasy of what these...
Hang on there. Have you noticed, Rowan, that indeed a collective of scientists, academics, including from America, put a report, Net Zero Australia, put out a report a couple of years ago saying the transition to net zero will cost Australia between up to $9 trillion. Well, since people have been making hay like that, as you just have, as I have, as the Nationals have, they say, oh no, it's not that much. It's actually $300 billion, a pittance. And then, the ABC's running with this. Do you know how they get to that figure? Among other sort of assumptions, you've got to imagine that all our oil and gas, someone is going to invent a green substitute, right, for all that doesn't exist, and they're going to invest all the money in doing that in Australia. I mean, really, people fall, the ABC falls for it. Rowan, sorry about that rant, but
I'm glad you're absolutely 100%, Andrew. You've been saying that the world's finally waking up, at least the Liberals and the coalition have woken up.
Rowan Dean, thank you so much.